life becomes a performance. Life becomes a test over and over and over again to every room that you enter, you entering not as just you being enough. You enter in as you have to prove something. You have to win, you have to excel. It's exhausting.
Maba,
Yes.
welcome to the Museum of Thought.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Kaz.
And thank you for coming all the way from New York to LA to do this. That really means a lot. And
It was easy. New York is cold.
we've known each other for a few years, and we've kind of observed each other's creative journey on the outskirts, and supported each other that way. But I've always been so impressed by watching all the different creative endeavors that you take with such a through line of constantly questioning belonging and connection.
Yeah.
You are a Senegalese-born, award-winning film producer.
Yeah.
You've made some beautiful work.
Thank
It
you.
always lifts these incredible, very human African voices and stories that need to be told.
Thank you.
From there, you've also done some powerful writing. You've made wine as a way of digging into the connection between people, and singing.
Yeah.
It's incredible, but you always seem to stay true to what the message is that you want to get through. And I've loved watching you see you do that.
Thank you.
But some of the writing that you've been doing lately has really stopped me in my tracks.
Thank you.
It is so powerful.
Thank you.
And there are a few things that we're going to get into in this episode. We're going to use one of your essays as the rhythm and structure. You're good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. I wanted to just jump back quickly. When we first met, there was something that you said to me, and I only recently pieced that together on how important that was for you in that moment. You said to me, "Can you tell where my accent is from?"
Yeah, I did. It's, I realized, when I said that to you, I did not realize what it really meant because I realized that not too long ago, actually, that I have an accent in every language that I speak. So I grew up in Senegal, and my mom spoke French to me at home. And then I went to learn Wolof on the streets. So to this day, when I speak Wolof, I have an accent. When I speak French, I don't sound French. And then obviously you can hear my accent in English. And so this search for, as a younger man, the rejection of not being accepted as Senegalese because I didn't sound Senegalese, sort of pushed me into a search for home very early on, which I didn't have the words to articulate at the time, but in my actions, I was always searching for it. In relationships, in friendships, it got me in a lot of trouble because I thought that whoever was offering home to me, I had to earn it. And so, kids ask you to do very crazy things sometimes. And it was all part of the journey, part of the search. And then it's when I was about 17 and went back to school because of my love for basketball at the time. I wanted to come to the States and play basketball. So the only way I could do it was to graduate high school, but I had dropped out of school when I was 10 and a half years old. And so from about 10 and a half to 17, I'm just running the streets in Senegal. I got addicted to adrenaline, racing cars, and, was around a lot of adult people in their 20s, still looking for home, looking for love there. And then fell in love with playing ball and decided, and I saw sort of the camaraderie and the home in team. And that's when I went home, because I left home at the time. I went home and told my mom I want to play basketball. And she said, well, you have to graduate high school to do so. So I said, it's been 6 years I haven't been to school. Well, how am I gonna do that? Figure it out. So I went to a public school principal. I paid him off, and he gave me grades as if I went to his school for the last 7 years. Yeah, and so I went straight to the last grade of high school to do the baccalaureate. It's a French system, and the blessing that happened when I did that, even though basketball is what pushed me to do that, is at the last grades in the French system, that's when you start studying philosophy. And the first book I read was Discourse on the Method by Descartes. And I found home in an older, dead, white French thinker, because all of the questions he was asking and his quest was the question I've been asking my whole life, and nobody was answering them. And so that's when I discovered writing at that time, and basketball became secondary, and I graduated high school and came to college.
What a discovery at such a key time in your life
Yeah.
that could have changed your view on everything and just the path that you would have taken. This essay in particular that really stopped me in my tracks really pulls in your entire journey.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the chapters that you've gone through. It is called Black in This World.
Mm-hmm.
We will be putting a link to your Substack so
Yeah.
everyone can find the essay.
Yeah.
You abbreviated it to an acronym that reads as Between.
Yeah.
Because it is a real deep dive in living between worlds,
Yeah.
living between accents,
Yeah.
and all the things that come with that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, so it's BITW, between, because that's where I found myself, right? Because when I moved to America, I thought I was coming to find home here, not as a country, but as people. A lot of my heroes were African Americans. That's America exports a lot of the culture in the world, if not most of it. So even though being from Senegal and knowing where I'm from, not really being accepted there, I thought I would come here and be accepted here, but I wasn't at the same time. And it wasn't anything malicious. It's just that our cultures were just torn apart and dictated by other forces that made us suspicious of each other. Is what I've noticed. And so it's coming from Senegal, coming here, not finding home here, and then finding myself in between those cultures, and trying to see how do I navigate that in-betweenness. Because there's, I didn't have the words to articulate it at the time as a college kid, but I had the emotions and the feelings were clear. The rejection, the loneliness, inside, even when you're around people. But it took a bit longer to get to this essay, to understand that no matter what, I will always live in between. My home is between cultures and between places.
And there's a particular quote in chapter 1 which really hits on that, which is, "We are learning each other's language again, not French or English, but in rhythm, resilience, and recognition. Progress does not erase the pain, but it makes room for it to heal." When I think of those early days, the laughter, the questions, the distance, I no longer feel bitterness, I feel clarity. The misunderstanding between us was not hate, it was inheritance.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's by design, right? It's a very cliche divide and conquer, and it's what struck me the most was, I think it comes from a lot of media, a lot of films, etc. Like, coming to America is a classic for America. But I mean, this is going to be very unpopular.
Please.
But I think it's a very damaging movie, because it has painted an idea of what Africa is, and the only thing Africa can be. It's either you're a prince or you're a savage, And so you lose people humanity in those either or scenarios. Now, at the same time, people films like other classics like Menace to Society or Boys in the Hood, etc. Classic movies, great films as far as the storytelling is concerned. But for people not understanding the realities of those places, for Africans living, or the African parents living in Senegal, living in Africa, that middle class that send their kids to college here, they don't, the first thing they tell their kids is don't end up like such and such in Manasseh society, don't end up like such and such in Boys in the Hood, because that's what they think being African American is. So you have this divide that happened between Africans and African Americans, specifically men, where the African authority, the African middle class, is being African American is the worst thing that can happen, because it's that's the examples that they have. And then for the African American, being African is lower than them because they're savages. At least you have civilization here. And all of that is constructed by people who aren't black for the most part, or the production factor of it is non-black people. So it creates this divide between us.
Such a good awareness point to break down culture's impact on that divide.
Absolutely. I mean, that's how we learn who we are, right? Like that's how, even when you within a culture, you have elders maybe, and then it's oral tradition. That's how it's passed down. But when the TV came and the media, that you start seeing yourself and relating to who you are based on what you see, who looks like you, and it's if what you see looks a certain way, then you start believing it.
Chapter 2.
Yeah.
When I think of the phrase, "Who taught you to hate me?" I hear both sides asking it. It is not an accusation. It is a question soaked in grief and longing. The real enemy is not each other. The real enemy is the story that told us we were strangers.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's exactly what we were talking about in the media, the way that we portrayed, the way that history is also been has been written. It's it pushes us as strangers, as we're not from the same civilizations, we're not from the same people, and the thing is, it's tricky because culture shifts, right? Culture changes and culture evolves. Like I'm from Senegal, born and raised, but a lot of Senegalese people don't accept me as Senegalese, right? Because what they see as being Senegalese, how you're supposed to behave, how you're supposed to sound, how you're supposed to dress, etc. I don't dress that way. I don't sound that way, you know. And so then you're outcasted from that culture, yet I'm born and raised there. So imagine if that can happen within the same country where all your ancestors are from that country. What else can happen for an African American man from Louisiana versus an African American man from California? Like this idea of black culture to me is a fallacy in itself. It's too, Africa has arguably the most diversity than any other continent, and it's all black mostly. So we are different, but not enemies. And I think that's where the switch happened, where it's as if there isn't enough room for all of us here, so somebody has to be on top of the other person. I really, you can imagine, I really struggle with this particular question because I have African American friends, I have African friends, etc. But it's so deep, that divide, that sometimes it's subconscious action that you see, a little laughter, an assumption, a defensiveness around the subject, etc. And I wonder. I think we are doing a lot of great work to change it. Like there is this kid that I watch the other day, this streamer, I show
I show speed.
I show speed. I mean, I don't know if he knows how much he's impacting positively the world and the Black community generally, because just his own amazement of discovering Africa and the stereotype that it killed for him, and for him to show that to his audience in public, I think is one of the giant step forwards in reconciliation between our cultures.
And that's one thing that social media has got a plus on,
Yeah.
is complete access to what's actually truly
Yeah.
happening, how things are looking around the world. Like, rather than inheriting a perception or inheriting a story about something, it's like it's
Yeah.
completely open for you to take a look in and decide yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on top of that, you got to add the emergence of Afrobeats, and the Afrobeat stars like Nigeria played a huge role in also, getting us closer. But technology is definitely helping, with that big time.
Chapter 3.
Chapter 3.
There is something tragic about people who believe their humanity must be earned. It turns ambition into armor.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because it's if we keep going with the African American, the African is taught to conquer. It's you go in there, you have to get the best grades, you have to reach the highest levels, you have to be the doctor, the engineer, the African American a lot of times is raised to survive the system, and rise to that. Both of them are exhausted. Basically, life becomes a performance. Life becomes a test over and over and over again, to every room that you enter, you entering not as just you being enough. You enter in as you have to prove something. You have to win. You have to excel. It's exhausting.
Mm.
But it's so ingrained in the way you move that it becomes your identity. If you're not the best, it's all about the goat. The goat. Who's the goat? Everything is about the best, and if you're not the best, then it's almost as if you're less than, second place, or it's your whole life becomes a competition. And I think if you it's primal to an extent. It's ego driven a lot, as an armor, and no wonder why it's hard to reconcile. Because if we are always competing, well, where's the friendship in that? Where's the love in that? It's a scarcity mindset where it's like it's not enough for all of us. Right? You look at it, colonization. They come and they take the resources, so it's not enough. You're fighting for scraps, and a few of you rise to the top, to the cream, but most people won't. So it's always a fight for that, And then you look at the American dream, same thing, right? It's close enough that you see some people rise, but most people struggle forever, and it's like a crab mentality. It's like, who's gonna survive? So of course it's a war zone intellectually, whether in sports or with spiritually. It's a war zone. Everybody is trying to survive something, and I think that's tragic.
So much softness gets lost in that process, right? Or in that strive for ambition.
Oh yeah, I mean, softness get lost, and your power, the magic, that spiritual gift get lost, because you assign yourself to a system that's not real, right? And you start competing in rules set up, right? It's like a sports, whatever. It's like if your whole life is that court, and you're just competing in that court, it's so much more to life than that, But that's all because it becomes a survival skills. It's become your identity, and it's exhausting. You can see it in a lot of African and African American people.
Yeah.
Unconsciously.
I would love to take a pause and see your object,
Yeah.
please, Maba. Ooh. Pull this out. Would you like to talk us through this coin?
Yeah. So this coin comes from an idea that I call the breach philosophy, And I grew up, scuba diving, and I really love the ocean. It gave me meaning in the search, and I always been fascinated with whales breaching. Um, and so the way that I looked at it was the ocean is our sea of doubts, of nature and nurture, of struggles, of inconsistencies, and all the traumas and everything that we go through in our subconscious is the ocean. And every now and then we have moments of clarity, those moments of breach, and that's usually when how we impact the world positively, whether it's the podcast or it's a movie or it's a piece of writing or it's having a baby or whatever it is. But then you fall back in with your newly learned, newly revealed reality, but you still have to deal with yourself, what's inside. And so the breach was a romantic idea of what if I could give the whale wings. And so when we breach, we get to stay in that breach a little longer. We can fly around, and then we can choose to go back in to learn, but we're not doomed to go back in and learning. So
And there's like I love that you've taken it there, because it's almost like the heaviness of the whale coming back down, versus you're like, no, let's allow it to float above as long as possible.
yeah, as long as possible. And
You
then,
made this, correct?
no, I had a jeweler make it. I
You
had a
inspire you,
jeweler
and
make
you
it.
make it for you, and then how
Yes.
has this shown up in other areas of your creativity?
So I use the same emblem for my wine. Yeah, flying well, because so the breach philosophy is my very personal philosophy, but where the bigger idea came from, it came from the Dogon people. There was a tribe in West Africa that believed that there was this extraterrestrial being called the Nomo, who came from the Sirius star system in a whale-like vessel to drop off the first human and restore harmony on Earth. But what makes it fascinating is that Sirius is a white dwarf. You can't see it with a naked eye, and you can't even see it until the Hubble telescope was invented in the 40s. You couldn't see it with other telescopes, and so these two French archaeologists went to interview the last four Dogon priests to ask them about their knowledge of Sirius, and that's the only reason why us as humanity know about this myth. And so it's also an homage to them, and a nod to the beings that are here that us human may not be able to see.
I love that you have a creative symbol that means so much. It's linked to home, so you've really pulled in belonging
Yeah,
in there. But again, with your discipline of always having this strong through line, you carried it, and so it appears,
yeah,
and that means a lot, even subliminally,
yeah,
through so many things. So
absolutely.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. I love
Thank
that.
you. Thank you.
I would like to go to the next chapter.
Okay.
When I listen to songs like Kendrick Lamar's Father Time, I hear a generation trying to unlearn what we were taught about masculinity. He raps about the burden of being raised by men who survived by shutting down.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the good old, boys don't cry. Emotions are weakness. And so you toughen up, you develop this skin where you don't talk about, you have to be okay. You have to be fine. For me, I grew up with my mom, so it was a little different. Even though I have two brothers and a sister, but I left home quite early and stayed outside for a while to learn. So that made me sort of grow faster. And even though I have an older brother, it kind of fell back, the burden of being the strong one sort of fell back onto me for a while. And it's like nobody told me to be strong. It's not like it was put on me, except I put it on myself. That I believed for a very long time that I could not tell nobody in my family when I wasn't okay, because they came to me with their problems. So if I tell them I'm not okay, who's gonna hold it together? You know? And that was years of very, very difficult times that they have no idea about. And so that's what I'm referring to here, where a lot of men live that way. And I think, I don't know the numbers on top of my head, but I think the suffering, you can see it very clearly with suicide rates and, alcoholism and all these vices that, and violence also, because you deal with the fact that you have parents who dealt with colonization or oppression, etc. So they feel that it's a sense of duty to raise young men to be tough, to survive all of these things. But at the same time, um, so you don't have the softness at home to hold you, and then you go out in the world, and what your parents have warned you against is real too. So you get beat up both ways, both places. And it takes I mean, there is outliers. It takes some, there's greatness out there, but when you look at the numbers in general, it takes a toll on a whole community and a whole culture. And there's a price to pay for exporting the culture, making great music and making, great movies. They come from pain. It's we celebrate it and it's great, but it's people's pain. It's a lot of it. So I think there's hopefully ways to also help heal those
Feels like a
wounds.
lot of the work that you do opens the door to that, because you really jump into unpacking a lot of the nuances that create awareness
Yeah,
around different topics, like all of your writing does.
yeah.
I mean, I'm hooked on your writing
No, thank you.
because the topics are things that don't get enough time
Yeah,
to truly unpack and like look at everything that's in this one topic.
yeah,
The next chapter you have is around love.
yeah, yeah,
And there were a couple of quotes here. The problem is not who we love, the problem is why.
yeah,
Do we love to belong, or do we love to expand?
yeah. Yeah, no, that I love to belong for a very long time. I am hoping that because it's one thing to know it logically, it's another thing for your nervous system to really like live by it. Um, but when your existence is something that you have to earn, it's something that you you walk into rooms and it precedes you, so you have to either excel or you feel like you have to be accepted in rooms, like in places that affects the way you love as well, because your love become almost a political statement. Like I've been married twice. My first wife was an African American woman. um, I'm not saying that I didn't love her. I think I did. I loved her the way that I believed love was at the time, because that's, love is love. What's the definition of it? Who knows? So I loved her how I could at the time, but now with the step back, I it would be um, irrational to not realize the fact that I had just moved to the States. I'm 18 years old. I got married at 19. I had just um, I had just lived the rejection from the African American community where I thought I was coming home to. So marrying an African American woman was belonging, was a proof that, see, I'm part of you, you know? And it makes sense. But I didn't know that at the time. I just fell in love with the person. And so that same way, a lot of times you'll see our first presidents in Senegal, for example, all married white French women, you know, which, I have nothing against interracial marriage or date. I did it. My second wife was a white woman. But in the words of Frantz Fanon, interracial marriage is always political. It's hard to not, to separate the two, whether you're conscious of it or not. And for me, um, I think that I subconsciously were looking for the approval from a group that rejected me and my people for a long time, and marrying into that. It's the thing is though that you have to be very careful about is this is none of this is conscious. Like it's not like I'm there saying, "Oh, she's white, so accept me." See, if you accept me, that means the white people accept me. No, you don't. It's so deeply ingrained in you in colonization and oppression and the images that you saw of beauty your whole life. Like I grew up watching When Harry Met Sally. You know, we had 15 VHS tapes. And I had to watch everything on repeat. So Pretty Woman, When Harry Met Sally, The Lion King, I know every words, you know? And so that's the idea of beauty you gave me. You know what I mean? And so you don't realize that until you start living the life, but little things wakes you up. And for me, the thing that woke me up is a relationship not too long ago with a European lady that I really fell in love with, but where I realized that I was not a full human in that relationship. I was an idea, an image, a projection, sometimes a fetish, for lack of a better word. And that realization sting, but it's the change that you need for your actual nervous system to really understand, because like it's your body that tells you that it's that. You know what I mean? Like it took 40 years, 39 years to realize. So what happened to make that realization is that I was in her hometown in Europe, and her aunt had to ask her in a different language that I don't speak, that she was fascinated with my hair and that she wanted to touch it. And she turned that to me and translated that to me. And in that moment, I thought, what is happening? You know, we moved on. I waited 3 weeks to hear her say something about that moment. Nothing came. And that's when I realized that it is because parts of her also accept that, also sees me as that, you know, and that's when I realized that I was not a full human here. I was a picture of something. So it's like things like that that really hurt, because you think you're in love with somebody, but and the crazy thing is, she thinks she's in love with you as well, because all of this happens subconsciously. Like it's not that she's looking at me and say, "You this object," but it's also what she was taught. So that's what I mean when I'm saying that it's hard to love. It's hard to detach identity, culture, and the realities of this world and just think you just love purely.
How do you approach love now?
Oh God, celibacy. I'm serious too. I don't. I haven't. I think it's I've went to writing, and I think I'm gonna have a longer journey to go back out there for a little while. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't have the. I think I have to find a lot more clarity before I. Yeah, yeah.
Next chapter.
Yeah.
I used to think wholeness was about returning to Africa, as if the continent could restore what the world took. But the older I get, the more I understand that home is not a place. It is a state of being. It is the moment I stop apologizing for my complexity.
Yeah, 100%. That came to me in October of 2024. Is the first time I did ayahuasca, and I watched my younger self could come out of birth, and experienced it, and experienced being a baby again, all the way until I was about this big, and then my adult self detached and met this version of myself. And then we started chatting, and I was laughing. Oh my God. You know, some people purge, some people cry. I was laughing so hard for 2-3 hours. I was crying laughing. This little kid was so funny. Oh my God. And so I know him since. So when I go, I do EMDR and DBR therapy, and a lot of it is hypnosis, going to a safe space and meeting with yourself.
Mm.
And so that chapter comes from that, where it's, I used to think that I would have to achieve that, go home and do this, or move back to Africa and open this thing. And most of my movies that I make is to represent Senegal, to show our communities there. And like it was a subconscious and even conscious at some point attempt for Senegal to accept me. It's like, see, I'm representing you out there. See, I'm making movies about us, and that's what I thought home was until I met that kid.
Mm.
And now I close my eyes and I meditate and I go to the safe space and I go have a chat with him, and I'm home. So that's where that comes from. And that kid obviously is complex, and because it's not one person inside all of us, it's multiple of us, and with different desires and different levels of consciousness at any given time. In any given conversation and scenarios. So it's accepting all of those levels as one, as part of you. Because one thing today can be looked at in the filter of this is bad, and you judge it or you have shame over it. And then in a different scenario is great. So it's obviously you want to be good to others and not, hurt anybody on purpose, etc. But also accept those quote unquote darker side. I don't even believe in that because I'm darker, but I'm not bad. So it's just that duality, that binary thinking that you just erase. We were much more complex than that.
Final chapter.
Okay.
We may never have a single home, but we can create moments of belonging through truth, through art, through forgiveness, through love that doesn't require us to shrink. The ocean is wide, but it no longer feels impossible to cross. We are remembering, we are rebuilding, we are becoming whole.
That's right. Yeah. As one and as a whole. I mean, look, I am African. I'm born and raised in Senegal. But whatever that means, my influences are from all over the world, from Japanese artists to Korean music to French singers to philosophers from Germany that died centuries ago. Like we are such a big, and obviously a lot of African American heroes. And a lot of African American culture that I relate to and that I connect with. And so I think it's finding the wholeness within the self, but also finding a wholeness for cultures within the differences. And I think if we fight against this idea of putting Blackness in one box, once we stop that, then there is nothing to fight for. It's like your Blackness is as valuable as mine, as hers, as his. And then we can all come together and share that Blackness, and they all different. But if somebody has to have the monopoly on what is the culture, what is Black, then of course we're going to keep bumping heads and say, you're not this and you're not that. A really funny one is the jollof rice conversation. Obviously, Senegal has the best jollof rice. That we're not even on the conversation. No, we're not part of the conversation because we created it, It's not, it's not. But then you have Ghana, you have Nigeria, you have everybody saying, no, it's me, no. It's like, okay, I like your jollof rice. Why does it have to compete?
We have the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called the pavlova.
Okay.
And it's between Australia and New Zealand, which is like a giant kind of beautiful, fluffy meringue dessert.
Okay.
And we fight over who created that first.
Really?
Yeah.
But do you fight over who makes it better today?
I think we will continuously do that, and that's maybe the way that we'll prove who's best at it.
Yeah.
But that exists with us.
So who makes it better for you?
Well, of course, the New Zealanders. 100%.
And the New Zealanders who created it?
I'm going to say yes, because that is my country.
So you see, just because it's your country, you're willing to go to war.
Our pavlova.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
very funny that to a point that you and I have had before, how big these topics are universally
Yes.
for
Yes.
immigrants moving
Yes.
everywhere,
Everywhere.
all across different parts of the planet.
Absolutely everywhere. And yeah, that's the other thing is that I talk about black in this world, which I'm almost reluctant to make it a black thing, um, because it's almost a contradiction to what I'm trying to say, because it's putting it in a box while trying to put it out of the box. Because what I'm talking about is a nomad story. It's an immigrant story. It's not a black story. It's somebody who's been searching for home everywhere, in people, in relationship, in different territories, and that I think is a universal feel. It's not just a black feel. I'm just telling it from a black lens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think we attach too much meaning to these days?
You want the obvious? Money.
Yeah.
Money, status, the story, identity. I would say I would actually pick identity. I think self-image to the world is what is driving us insane right now. Yeah. How others see you. Yeah, and the mask that you have to wear to move through the world, I think, at least from circles that I've seen, is dangerous.
What words of wisdom do you have for the next generation?
Of Senegalese people, and yeah, I would say that don't don't base what you do on the realities that are here now. Do it for a reality that you want to be there for people after you. So it's like every time I make a movie, you know, it's expensive and it's not as profitable. I make art house movies, you know. And it's difficult to make in Senegal, and it hurts my heart a lot when I'm still going there and journalists make fun of me, of my accent, and, you know, I still feel rejected there. And I have friends who did, you know, well in life, came here in the tech industry, etc., and then tells me that, you know, the Senegalese person is not very nice. Like you know, they go hide because, you know, it's not very united. And I tell them, I'm not doing it for the people that are here now, because the realities of the now and the realities of the colonization and a lot of other factors have made an environment that makes it difficult for people to unite and to work together. And what happened is, you know, you get everybody go individual and everybody do for themselves. But what I'm doing it for is for those who aren't born yet. They're not corrupted yet with that system. And if enough of us do that, then maybe we change the system instead of doing what is here now. So I think for the next generation and for anybody, in fact, like, is to, if you can afford to, not worry about the result now that you get, but more about the seeds that you're planting for real change later, because it's going to take so much time to undo or to change what has been done in the minds of colonized and enslaved people.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you for being part of the Museum of Thought. What a powerful conversation, and please keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Your writing is exceptional,
Thank
and
you.
I just want to see more and more of it. So I can't wait to add your amazing coin and the symbolism behind it to the Museum of Thought.
Thank you.
And really archive and document this for many years to come.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maba.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Hello, my name is Maba Ba. I am a storyteller and a winemaker, and this is my object for the Museum of Thoughts. It's a whale breaching with wings, and I hope it inspires people to breach out of their patterns of life and impact the world positively in however ways they can.